Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lexi, and this is a place where we make clothes and costumes and maybe at some point in the future a bit of cosplay inspired culinary treats. But for today, we are focusing on one of my favorite people. He's one of my little tiny humans, and he is absolutely obsessed with dinosaurs, which is why today we are working on Simplicity Pattern 1765, which is dinosaurs. This is not a vintage pattern. I'm not going to pretend like it is. I am actually using the full pattern versus making it my own pattern, which I have historically done. So a lot of today is going to be just working on the process and then maybe doing a bit of review as to how this pattern goes for me. This is probably going to be a week project for me as I'm working mostly during nap time and after bedtime. But I'll take you guys along the way and I'll let you know any of the tips or tricks or snags that I run into with it. I'm pretty excited about this one. Let's get started. Okay, I have my huge stack of pattern pieces. This is going to make up the base of the dinosaur costume. So this doesn't include any of the little spots or claws, but it's the entire base of the jumper and the tail and the crown of the head and everything for the Triceratops in this particular pattern. I think I'm done for tonight, so I will meet you back here tomorrow during nap time to maybe start sewing some of this together.
Hey my lovely YouTube friends, we are on day 2 of our dinosaur costume project. I've got my stack of cutout pattern pieces here. I've got my handy dandy instructions from Simplicity in front of me as well. And I suspect a very short nap time in front of me to get a little bit of this done. So let's get started right away. Okay, I think that's as much as I can get done during this nap time. I hear somebody stirring upstairs. I've managed to get the first part completely finished in terms of getting the front and back pieces put together to make the jumper. I have the tail here sewn together and stuffed, which then the instructions show being pushed through here and then stitched in place on the inside later. I think I am going to wait to do that till the very end, until after I have put all of the hems in around the cuffs and the feet and so forth, before I completely put that into place. This is now. I still need to make the hood, the gloves, and the foot covers, and put on some of the little extras in and around. But otherwise, I think we've made a pretty good start for 2 nap times and bedtime. So we'll see you guys back here a little bit later. Okay guys, we are back, still day 2, and we are working on getting the hood and gloves and feet put together for our dinosaur child's costume. So I'm going to start getting that going. I have kind of pre-done something. I had sat down just a little bit ago and I marked out the darts for the hood. Whenever I'm doing darts on something and it's marked out on a pattern, I like to mark it out on the inside or the wrong side of the fabric, either with chalk or with washable pen, and really draw the lines in so that when I am sewing it, I can just follow that line and I know I'm going to get a perfect dart every time. So I did that on both sides of the hood. I'll put those darts in, then put the hood together, and then we'll get started on the rest of the mittens, feet, and crown of the hood to make a Triceratops. Hello, my lovely YouTube friends. We are back on day 3 of our dinosaur project. If I'm being honest, I did not get a lot done last night. My needle on my sewing machine bent partway through attempting to attach the crown of the Triceratops head to the hood, and I couldn't get everything lined up, and then I couldn't find my flathead screwdriver to get the needle out, and I just decided it was too late and I really needed a bit of sleep. So I'm back with you today on day 3 during nap time. If I'm being entirely honest, I am a bit of a hot mess today, but I figure most of my fellow crafters, sewists / mamas out there can probably relate, and so I really want to get this project going, so I'm just going to barrel in. I managed to put on a bit of mascara and like a little clip in my hair so I could feel somewhat put together. So we'll just see how far we can get today, and hopefully everything runs a bit more smooth. Okay, so we are back. It is day 4 of our child's dinosaur costume project. I unfortunately didn't have any time to work on it after bedtime day 3, and I didn't have any time to work on it today during nap time. It just wasn't working out for me. So I did do a little bit of rearranging today during nap time since I had a little one at home sick. And now that everybody is in bed and asleep, it's time to maybe try and get some of this project done so that I can hopefully have it done by day 5, which is my goal. Okay, I've just finished putting the collar on the top of our costume here, and I just wanted to show one thing. It's very typical to seam a collar with the 2 right sides together and then flip it over, and then hand stitch the back so that you don't see the seam coming through, just picking up little bits. A method that I learned years ago and that I have used with a variety of different things from clothing to quilts is a method called stitch in the ditch. And so what you do is, once you've done your initial seam of your collar to your shirt here and then flipped the collar over,
When you go to the back side, what you do is you make sure and pin this back piece of fabric just below that seam line. Then when you sew it with this correct side, the right side facing you, and you literally just run your machine all the way in this existing seam, and it hides that stitch, the inner stitch. Now you can see my inner seam isn't particularly fancy, but from the outside it looks really great, and you can't see that extra stitching anywhere. Hello YouTube friends, I am back on day 5 of our children's dinosaur costume make. I wanted to go over with you guys where we're at and where I left off since my battery died in the evening of day 4. And then also go over a couple of things that I've done to change the pattern a little bit to suit me a little bit better, and my thoughts on some of the pieces and parts. So today, what I really do need to finish is just the little shoe covers, my little dinosaur feet, which I think I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of elastic to, and then close these up so that they go over the top. And then I am redoing the front hood of our Triceratops hood, just because before it came up and straight across, and I tried it on a little bit earlier, and it kind of cut up under his chin or just over his chin. And while I could get it underneath, it seemed a little uncomfortable. So I've cut the sides down, and I will have it sewn together and kind of just Velcro to the very bottom, as opposed to coming across in a rectangular area there. Another thing that I changed on the costume, and this was for my personal preference, was the tail. Initially, and I think I showed this in one of the earlier videos, the pattern has the tail going through the jumper and affixing on the inside. And I really actually loved the initial design of it because it gives a really sturdy tail base and really anchors it into the costume. But what I've realized I don't love is, one, the placement of the hole in the jumper for the tail is in the same place for all of the sizes, size 3 to size 8. And so once I finally had it on my little one, who's wearing the smaller size, it was almost like under his little bottom and really dragging on the ground, which was not terribly convenient. The other problem that I had with it was the inconvenience of the tail with travel. My little guy wants this not just for Halloween, but he wants to be a dinosaur when it's cold outside. So being able to use it as his primary jumper during the winter months when it's cold, let's go for a walk and let's put on cozy clothes. He wants to be able to throw on his dinosaur jumper and walk around the neighborhood as a dino. And so with that in mind, I want to know that I can also throw him in and out of the car or a stroller or a wagon while wearing this. And if you have a tail, that's not really going to happen. Especially say you want to do Halloweening, you want to go to a grandparent's house or do a trunk or treat or something like that. This means if you leave the tail attached the way it's supposed to be through the costume and sewn into place, you have to get dressed once you're there. And it's not the end of the world, but if it's awfully cold, it's really nice to put on those cozy jammies underneath, throw your lovely cozy dinosaur jumper over the top, and just get in the car and go and be cozy and warm in the car or cozy and warm in the stroller. And then once you get out and you're running around, then being able to attach the tail. So that's what I did. I went ahead and filled in the spot. So there is kind of a strange hole, like a circle here on the back of his outfit. But I'm not really worried about it. It's kind of under his little bottom, and most of the time when he's running around and people will actually see him, the tail will be covering it, so I'm not terribly worried. But I did fill that in. And then I added the tail, and I've added snaps and a piece of Velcro, and I think I'm going to do a kind of a smiley face of Velcro, for lack of a better way of putting it, along the bottom of the tail as well to keep it nice and secure. But this way, I can just go ahead and pop this off. I have a tail, and then I have a lovely jumper, and he can just get put into his car seat in the car, jump out, get his tail on, and be off and running. And I think for us, that's just more convenient. And I think really for many people with very little kids who are using the smallest sizes, kind of maybe ignoring that hole in the pattern, filling it in, And then having a detachable tail is very ideal. So that is something that I did change in the overall pattern. So not much left to finish tonight, thank goodness, just our little shoes, and refitting our little hat, our hood, our dinosaur hood. And then tomorrow, hopefully we can get outside and get him all snuggled up in this and get some pictures of him running around in this for a little bit of a reveal. So let's get started on these last little finishing touches. All right, and hopefully I'm getting that clearly on the camera there. I've just finished closing up that seam that I had opened and trimmed down. It had come across straight here into a rectangle, and I've kind of made it into a triangle at the bottom. I did go ahead and put the Velcro on before closing up that seam just so you couldn't see the Velcro from the outside of the hood. I'm not a professional seamstress, as I have said before, and so I'm not really sure what the stitch I just did is called, but it's one that I really like, because if I have a seam that I don't want you to be able to see, but that I do have to stitch from the outside versus being able to stitch it on the machine and then flipping the garment inside out, it's a really lovely stitch, because once it's done, if you just kind of gently wiggle the fabric, the seam becomes almost invisible to the eye, which I really like. So it gives it a nice clean finish, and you don't have a seam running just part of the way along the garment here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this side, and then we will have a completed hood. Come on down.